Welcome back, Fan-Fueled family. Today, we're heading back into the Out of the Spotlight series to look at a character that is really massively underrated. I suspect less than half of my audience is even aware of him, and that's the way he likes it, operating under the radar. So, here's the question for you. Nope, that's not an interrogative, that's the superhero name of Victor Sage, The Question. I've always found DC to be a little dour, but The Question is a really fun character. Any of my fellow Fallout 4 players out there will know Nick Valentine, the robotic detective of the Commonwealth. The Question is a bit like that. He's a trench coat wearing, fedora bearing, on the streets gumshoe with keen detective skills and intense paranoia. Just one thing to note, I'll be focusing primarily on the version of this character from the DCAU, the DC Animated Universe, specifically the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, as that's what I'm most familiar with. But the vast majority of what you're about to watch is true for most versions of The Question. Little is known about who Victor Sage really is. After the events of the Thanagarian invasion of Earth, he was brought into the expanded Justice League as the founding members realized that, despite being as powerful and talented as they were, they couldn't keep an eye on everything themselves and needed to branch out. Superman, Clark Kent. Batman, Bruce Wayne. Wonder Woman, Diana of Themyscira. Martian Manhunter, John Jones. The Flash, Wally West. Green Lantern, John Stewart. And Hawkgirl, Shayera Hall. The founders of the Justice League were only 7 people, and even with their gifts, they couldn't keep the whole world safe on their own. The expanded league had more than enough people that could punch buildings down, fly through the air, or shoot lasers from their eyes, but what they were sorely lacking in was inquisitive minds, individuals that could go onto the street and gather information surreptitiously. They had Batman, of course, who is widely regarded as one of the greatest detectives in the world, but he's still only one man, so the league recruited Question. When Superman's cousin, Supergirl, began to have strange and dark dreams, Question put his detective skills to work and aided Supergirl and Green Arrow in tracking down the source. Their investigations led the trio to Supergirl's clone, Galatea, created by a secret branch of the US government called Cadmus, dedicated to countering the Justice League. Due to the success of this mission, Batman tasked Question with finding a link between Cadmus and Lex Luthor. While Question was investigating, he was approached by Huntress, who requested his help hunting down the man that had killed her parents, and offered Question information on Cadmus if he helped. Question knew from the beginning that she didn't have anything on Cadmus, but he helped anyway, simply because he was attracted to her. Question's paranoia had led him to investigate the background of every member of the League, so he already knew why Huntress was tracking Mandragora down. She wanted to kill him as revenge for her parents. Question, however, talked her down from murdering Mandragora in front of his own son. Realizing what Question had saved her from doing, the same thing Mandragora did to her, she took a liking to him and the two began dating. With Huntress's help, he stole files from Cadmus's servers, intending to scour them for any information that could link Cadmus to Luthor. What he found, however, shocked even him. The files detailed Amanda Waller's simulations and information on the Justice Lords, a version of the Justice League from a parallel Earth where Lex Luthor became the President of the United States and killed the Flash. This led to Superman murdering Luthor in cold blood and establishing the Justice Lords as a tyrannical authoritarian government.
President Luthor. Oh, no. It's all connected. Not alternate reality. Time loop. Luthor becomes president. Flash is killed. Superman kills Luthor in retaliation. Superhuman arms race. Armageddon. End of the world. Inevitable. Is the future immutable? Can destiny be changed? Will they allow it?
Question became convinced that these horrible events were destined to happen in his world as well. Events that had led to Superman's heel turn were happening in his world too, such as Lex Luthor running for president, and Waller's simulations predicted that a war between the Justice League and the government would result in the end of the world. He confronted Superman, furious that the League founders had kept their encounter with the Justice Lords secret from the rest of the League. Superman assured him that he would never fight the government, that he would never fall so far as to become the Justice Lord Superman. But Question, ever the skeptic, was unconvinced.
Something I can help you with?
I hope so. But I assume you don't want to discuss your White House weenie roast in front of a crowd.
You said something about me in the White House.
Not you exactly. Another version of you. I know what you told everyone. The Justice Lords, a parallel universe version of the Justice League, came to our world to rid it of crime just as they did on their own world. With Lex Luthor's help, our Justice League managed to rout them before they could impose their totalitarian will on our populace. I also know what you didn't tell anyone outside of the original 7 members of the Justice League. On that other Earth, so very much like our own, A Superman so very much like you killed the president.
Question. No one can know about this.
Or what? You'll incinerate me too?
I'd never do anything like that.
Wouldn't you? A heavily armed watchtower with an army of proactive heroes? Luthor running for president? If it's not quite the same, it soon will be. Did he tell you all the models predict that a war between the Justice League and the government will devastate the planet?
We would never fight the government.
Not even if Luthor was the government?
Question. I'm worried about you. You're mixed up. This world isn't like the other one. We're not the Justice Lords. Those things you're afraid of will never happen here. I won't let them.
In a final bid to prevent Armageddon, Question broke into the LexCorp headquarters, determined to assassinate Lex Luthor to make it impossible for Superman to do so. Question, by his own admission, was a crackpot, and he claimed that it would be believable that he had snapped and murdered Luthor with no connections to the League, and as such, his actions would not tarnish the League's reputation or Superman's.
Question, isn't it?
I want you to understand something, Luthor. Although my distaste for you as a human being is Brobdingnagian, what I'm about to do isn't personal.
What are you babbling about?
Everything that exists has a specific nature. Each entity exists as something in particular and has characteristics that are part of what it is. A is A. And no matter what reality he calls home, Luthor is Luthor. If I'm to save the world, your existence must come to an end before you take office.
You're going to kill me so that Superman can't.
I'm a well-known crackpot. The Justice League's reputation will survive my actions, and Superman's legacy will remain intact.
Luthor, however, beat the hell out of Question, somehow having acquired super strength, and turned the unconscious Question over to Cadmus for interrogation. At the hands of one of the leaders of Cadmus, Dr. Moon, Question was tortured to force him to reveal what he had learned from the stolen files, but Question refused to break, instead reciting some of his mad conspiracy theories to form a mental wall against the torture.
This doesn't have to continue. You stole files from our computer. Just tell me what you've learned.
Topically applied fluoride doesn't prevent tooth decay. It does render teeth detectable by spy satellite. The plastic tips at the ends of shoelaces are called aglets. Their true purpose is sinister.
Ultimately, Question was rescued by Huntress and Superman and teleported to the Watchtower, the Justice League's orbital space station, to recover. While there, he showed Huntress his true face, and the two had a tender moment together.
Wait. Get this off my face. Aerosol in my coat pocket. You were right. I am the ugliest guy of all time.
Not in my eyes.
During Question's recovery, Cadmus launched a counterattack on the Watchtower, sending their own superhuman team, the Ultimen, to destroy the Watchtower itself. Despite still being injured and exhausted from his torture, he was strong enough to knock out one of the Ultimen with a bedpan to save Huntress. After he fully recovered, he continued his relationship with Huntress and resumed his obsession with conspiracies. When the DC Universe's embodiment of evil, Darkseid, invaded Earth, he showed up to help in whatever way he could, and even destroyed a few of Darkseid's cannon fodder troops, Parademons, with his car. The Question is tall and lanky, and while in the field is often seen in his iconic blue trench coat, blue fedora, yellow shirt, and black tie, all intended to evoke classic noir detectives. His most striking feature is his mask, which renders his face completely and eerily blank. He has red hair naturally, but when in costume it's dyed black, and he has bluish-green eyes. Question usually remains calm and speaks softly, and the few times he does raise his voice, you know that something is deeply wrong. Question is, by his own admission, a conspiracy-obsessed crackpot. The number of people he truly trusts can be counted on one hand. He believes that there is some underlying conspiracy that controls everything, and as such, he's constantly searching for evidence, some way to escape the world-spanning control. His car has no license plate, and he goes through everyone's trash.
What? Do you go through my trash?
Please. I go through everyone's trash.
He's cold, logical, analytical, even when examining outlandish conspiracy theories, but despite this cold nature, he does truly care for the world, clearly evidenced by his willingness to murder Lex Luthor before Luthor's actions could bring about the end of the world. Though again, this could just be his cold logic. His death, when weighed against the lives of billions, was an acceptable sacrifice, just based on the numbers. Personally, I like to think that he does actually deeply care for the world and everyone in it, but that could just be my desire to see the best in everyone. The Question's most potent power is his intellect. He can't fly or phase through walls, he doesn't have the kind of resources that Batman has, but he has an incredibly brilliant mind, easily genius level. He has detective skills on a similar level as Batman, who is widely regarded as the greatest detective in all of DC, and is every bit as skilled as Batman in interrogation tactics. Speaking of Batman, Question is one of only a handful of individuals to figure out Batman's true identity of Bruce Wayne. He has no fancy gadgets or superpowers, but he's a skilled martial artist, able to easily hold his own against the average criminal he crosses paths with. He's gifted with improvised weapon combat, the Jackie Chan-like art of using whatever objects are on hand. While Question doesn't use any gadgets like Batman, preferring to stick to the streets like a noir detective of old, he does have a few bits of equipment. The mask is a rather interesting piece of gear, and it's applied with a unique gas that seamlessly bonds it to his face, while another gas loosens it. The mask has a built-in visor and speaker so he can see and communicate without any issues.
Hey, I just said...
These same gases also change his hair and even outfit to match, allowing him to quickly change personas as necessary to track a target or blend in. He also drives a dark blue 1967 Pontiac GTO. Question is, by his very nature, not a people person. He doesn't trust easily, and is often so absorbed by his work that he forgets to eat or shower. This has led him to prefer working alone rather than with anyone else.
Screening your calls? You haven't answered the phone for days. Oh, it's rank in here. Is that you?
That said, he did form a strong relationship with Huntress, one that evolved rapidly from a simple working friendship to romance. The two worked well together in the field, especially for data recovery missions, with Huntress providing cover for Question while he infiltrated computer terminals, the two flirting the whole time.
When are we going out on a real date?
Trying to concentrate.
I'm not even in the Justice League anymore. You're lucky to have me along.
Hardly. You're drawn to my eccentric charm.
The Question was created by Steve Ditko for Charlton Comics, a small comic studio that was behind other characters such as Captain Atom and the original Blue Beetle. Question's first appearance was in 1967's Blue Beetle Volume 6, Number 1. In 1983, Detective Comics bought Charlton Comics, and The Question was revamped by Dennis O'Neil and reintroduced into the DC continuity officially in 1986's The Question Number 1. The famous character Rorschach from Watchmen was based loosely on the original concept for Question, and, in turn, the version of Question from Justice League Unlimited was inspired by Rorschach. In Justice League Unlimited, he was voiced by Jeffrey Combs, famously known from the Reanimator horror movie trilogy where he plays the lead, Dr. Herbert West. The Question is a quintessential pick for a series focusing on underrated and little-known characters, because he's both. There are very few characters that have both the same kind of intelligence and the same level of detective skills as Batman. There's a reason Batman is often referred to as the world's greatest detective, after all. I think The Question is more impressive, though, because Batman has billions of dollars to throw around on training, equipment, and so on, while The Question does everything on a shoestring budget, and those shoestrings are up on his conspiracy board connecting things. His whole faceless noir detective vibe is really cool to me, but he avoids that dour, depressing, hopeless feel that DC can often have, because he's also hilarious with his conspiracies. For me at least, he walks that fine line between being so comedic that you can't take him seriously and being so serious that he's boring. He never falls on either side. DC is known for their ridiculously overpowered characters. Superman can throw planets around, Wonder Woman is hundreds, if not thousands of years old and is a literal demigoddess. The Flash can move so fast that the concept of speed becomes meaningless. Batman has billions of dollars that he uses to dress up as a bat and beat up the criminal underworld. Never breaking his one rule, of course.
So you won't kill, but you're fine with traumatic brain injuries.
The Question is an anomaly in that regard. He has no superpowers, just a sharp mind, keen instincts, and a drive to do the right thing. In that regard, I think we can all learn something from The Question. We're not Superman. We're not faster than a speeding bullet or more powerful than a locomotive. We're not Batman. We don't have obscene amounts of money to throw at any problem. But even without those sorts of enhancements, we can still do the right thing. We can be good people. You don't need to be super to be a hero, and even the smallest thing can make all the difference. Call a friend or a family member you haven't talked to in a while. Hold the door for someone. Do some random act of kindness every day. So that's The Question. What do you think of this conspiracy nut gumshoe? Did you even know he existed before this video? Did I miss anything important? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Next time, we're going to look at neutral force powers in Star Wars, a continuation of last week's video on light side powers. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It all helps out a ton. There's a new video every single Friday, and there are polls, posts, and even bonus videos here and there. If you missed last week's video, click here to watch that. If you want to see my video on Gambit, click here. Or click here to watch the entire Out of the Spotlight playlist. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.